Hello everybody, I'm Gligar13vids, and today I'm going to be talking about some hot and thought-provoking gaming topics in the gaming community. Now in this video, I'm going to be discussing a controversial issue in the gaming community. Should multiplayer-focused games have single-player modes, and vice versa? Now the multiplayer gaming market is a very lucrative market that is big and booming. Everybody is playing multiplayer games these days, and every company wants to get into the market and make the next Call of Duty, StarCraft, League, Counter-Strike, and more. Multiplayer games make billions of dollars for the companies who make them, and as games such as the Master Chief Collection and Battlefield 4 have showed, how well you support the game starting from day one, along with the quality of the multiplayer mode, can make or break a game. However, one major hot topic in the gaming community has been, do these games need single-player modes? For example, when Titanfall came out in 2014 with no single-player mode or campaign whatsoever, it was highly criticized by many internet message board gamers. The developers said that from what they noticed, only around 5% of people who played the games would beat the campaign modes. While you have nearly everybody booting up the game's first level and playing through it, for example, to learn the controls, the remaining portion would then beat the game while spending as little time as possible rushing through the game. And yet those same people would sink hours and hours into the multiplayer modes of games, despite the fact that according to developers it took months to make a level that people would beat in only around, let's just say, 8 minutes. EA's Peter Moore also just recently said the same thing about the new Star Wars Battlefront game, and as usual the comments lit up about how EA is an evil developer not listening to the gamers. However, let's take a look at the actual data. In 2011, when Modern Warfare 3 was out along with Battlefield 3, stat tracker website Raptor, which tracks gamers' achievements and playtime in games, stated that only around 17% of gamers beat Battlefield 3's campaign, with 18% beating the more popular Call of Duty Black Ops campaign. At the same time, people continued to buy and play Call of Duty games, and they continued to rank at the top of the Xbox Live charts. So what could have possibly lowered completion rates? The multiplayer. Not only do most Call of Duty games have no co-op mode, but they also have a pretty big multiplayer community, with the majority of people purchasing these games just to go straight to the multiplayer mode, and maybe using the first level or two of the campaign as a way to memorize the controls. In fact, if you look at what gamers actually play on sites like Twitch and YouTube with the games I've talked about, they only play multiplayer. Aside from a few quick playthroughs when the game is new, nearly every person who plays the game doesn't talk about the single player very much. Even games where people were bringing up single player as a fallback in case the multiplayer had issues, like with Splatoon, had nearly all the attention on the multiplayer, and the game was designed around the multiplayer mode. Not only that, but in another series, the Battlefield franchise has actually been panned for adding in single player modes, with many people not only skipping over them to play the multiplayer only, but the modes have also been panned in nearly every review of the franchise. If it lowers the scores of the game, then is there really any reason to put it in there other than to tick off some publisher's box? Especially when it costs money and pulls away staff from the feature everyone's going to be playing in the game, it seems like there's no point in adding it other than to give the marketing department trailer material. At the same time, however, it seems as if there is a very loud vocal audience who want single-player modes in multiplayer-focused games. Despite criticizing some games for being multiplayer only, such as Titanfall, Destiny, and more, nearly every one of these so-called true gamers will hand out free passes when it's something that appeals to them. Just take a look at how literally nobody makes million rant videos on Valve when they release a multiplayer-only game, or any other Steam developer. Or in the 90s when nobody was calling out Epic Games for making Unreal Tournament have no campaign and just a bunch of bot modes and stuff. And how nobody was calling out ID Software when they made Quake 3 Arena a multiplayer only game. Oh wait, that's because people were playing the multiplayer games and having fun with them. Yet you'll have people judge the Call of Duty series solely off the single-player campaign, which seems to continue to be included in games for the sole purpose of trailers, the 5 people who play Call of Duty for the single-player, and the demo units at my local Micro Center. And yes, I went to Micro Center and they had on there, I think it was their Xbox One, they had Call of Duty Advanced Warfare and the campaign loaded up. On the flip side, gamers absolutely hate games with, quote, tacked on multiplayer. There's really no debate about this, and in one case, a game developer called out their publisher because they forced them to include a multiplayer component in the game. Gamers don't like the fact that they usually lack content and modes compared to a game designed around multiplayer, and usually these modes are of lower quality bug-wise when it comes to multiplayer. Many games often just don't work as multiplayer games, and there are tons of games you could rattle off that never needed a multiplayer mode, but where resources were spent to add one just to tick off a box on the publisher's want list, similar to single player. Dead Space 2, Bioshock 2, Singularity, The Darkness, Ninja Gaiden 3, the Tomb Raider reboot, and the list goes on and on and on and on. Some people might have enjoyed them at one point, but with the low player counts and content, it makes you wonder if it was worth it to spend all that money on development. Many publishers have to shell out resources to both make multiplayer mode and test it to be sure it works, and as we saw with the Master Chief Collection last year, if your multiplayer game is broken and stays broken, nobody will play it. So if gamers usually hate games with tacked on multiplayers, then why is it whenever a developer says a game is multiplayer only, there's an internet outrage? Should all multiplayer games have single player modes, no matter how tacked on they are? Leave your thoughts in the comment section, and thanks for watching.